Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, with all of the stuff going on in the gacha space right now, you all might have forgotten that Lupa is actually on the horizon. She should be releasing in about less than a week. And boy, oh boy, I feel like a lot of people have unfortunately forgotten about her. There are a couple of reasons for that, right? I think namely due to the fact that pretty much every other gacha game on the market seems to be self-imploding. We got Genshin Impact over here with the worst endgame in gacha history, and we also got ZZZ 2.0 being an absolute abject failure in terms of reaching any sort of critical success. And now it's time for the focus to redirect back to Wuthering Waves, because let's be honest here, it pretty much seems like one of the, probably the only good game that's left. Right, I forgot to mention HSR and its 200 pull spending event. There's been a lot of news, and now it's time to redirect back to Wuwa. So let's do that, because we've got the post-lament Anthropocene stars intertwined Lupa. Lupa, Gladiator of Septimont, just ignore the attention warrior. This victory is ours to savor. So why don't we go ahead, click into the link, and see a little bit more about everything this character is going to entail, because it's been a while since we've done a little bit of like this lore story breakdown, and with how amazing Lupa was during the 2.4 quest, and knowing that, you know, there's all the rumors, right, about her bringing the Dark Tide and killing a bunch of people in Septimonte, well, let's be honest here, guys. A lot of people are waiting eagerly to see how this story concludes. So why don't we go ahead and see if there are any clues we might be able to get from this breakdown? I guarantee it's not pre-watch, so everything's going to be new and genuine. A star in the arena. The spotlights are trained on the arena. Above them, the night sky of Septimont is as bright as day. Brighter than the spotlights is the fire, red and fierce, that is burning at the tip of Lupa's dancing spear. So almost a little bit like Dr. Seuss over here. The opponent's teal helmet is thrown into the air. As it lands, a great cheer erupts from the audience, filling the entirety of Colosseum Olympos. All eyes are on the young gladiator, the brightest star ever to have graced the arena. As we can all see, she's pretty much the star of Septimont. There's no wonder why she has her own exclusive drink deal. Yeah, I've got my own as well, gamersups.gg/Saintos. Make sure you use that code at checkout, by the way. So let's hear a little bit more about the tail. Lupa takes care of her bushy tail. She brushes it daily to remove the static and keep herself in a good mood. A little bit like Zani with her horns. But her assistants and stylists have more in mind. She bends to take a sniff. A strong smell assaults her nostrils. She crinkles her face and lowers her tail. Gotta get them to change the perfume. Yeah, that's a... Yeah, I'm sure she has a keen sense of smell. That's a little bit crazy. In the wind, Lupa loves running in the morning. She runs on the Capitoline Hill, flanked by cable cars on one side and cliffs on the other. When the wind blows, it brings with it the smell of morning dew. On her run, she sometimes comes across other gladiators, some exercising, some fighting each other. As she runs past them, warm greetings and invitations to matches come her way. Lupa wipes the sweat from her chin, panting slightly as she runs. Because she's like a dog. I get it. Good job, Kuro Games. She smiles wildly, revealing her pointed incisors. The morning sun shines, its rays reflected in Lupa's bright eyes. Oh my goodness. Lone Wolf. In between matches, Lupa likes to sit on cliffs by herself, relishing a can of cold drink. I think it's called Starburst or something, right? I'm not super sure. She changes her teammates often, though not of her own volition. She tries not to be troubled by this, but she is not always successful. Only when she is on her own, drinking its heart port. Got it. Sorry. Yeah, don't copyright me for that, Procter & Gamble. Or, sorry, that's probably the wrong company as well. Drinking her favorite beverage away from social engagements and the fervent eyes of her fans, can she find peace? Okay, so she's a little bit of a tough nut to crack. Now, let's read this resonator evaluation report, and I think this is where we get some clues as to why she's so much of a freak. All right, excerpt from the Gladiator Resonance Assessment. contender named Lupa. The contender is classified as a non-congenital resonator, with her resonance ability first manifesting during a childhood gladiatorial event. Oh boy, we started them off young in Septimonte, didn't we? The estimated resonance duration exceeds 10 years. Frequency spectrum analysis indicates a primary resonance alignment with fire. Oh, what a surprise. However, overlapping characteristics observed across multiple standard spectral signatures have rendered definitive source classification inconclusive. Ooh, this might be a bit of a clue for what's gonna happen in the 2.4 second half, because it seems to show us that she has some sort of synergy with more than one attribute. Maybe she's actually going to be more than fusion in the lore at the very least. Well, clearly she's going to be fusion in gameplay. Interesting to think about. The contender has demonstrated a consistent increase in both the strength and precision of her abilities over the course of her competitive career. The tassel mark is located on the left side of the contender's waist. Let's just confirm that real fast. For research purposes, let's... Yep, I see it. Okay. I see it. Yep. Resonance Awakening is accompanied by partial wolf-like transformation traits. Confirmed. In addition to a visible tail, the contender self-reports heightened olfactory and auditory sensitivity. Make sure you take a shower, boys. She'll be able to smell the stink on you. Overclock Diagnostic Report. And we all know what overclocking is. It's when people freak the fuck out, can't control their emotions, and transform into tacit discords. Spectral Waveform Analysis displays elliptical fluctuations with a stable time domain. Holy yap. No anomalous patterns detected. Diagnosis, resonant criticality is high. Subject stability remains robust, and no signs or history of overclocking. I find that to be a little bit crazy. And you want to know why I find that to be a little bit crazy is the fact that they're in the lore, right? They're going ahead and they're showing all of these different signs of stability. They're talking about why nothing is really going to be an issue. But if you've completed up to where, you know, most people have when it comes to the 2.4 story, because it's just so damn good and nobody can stop themselves from not completing it at this point, you got this play script from Frolova, which was a play written by Cristoforo, who seems to be like the main enemy of this Septimonte arc. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. It, trigger warning, you might, if you're a fan of Lupa, you might be traumatized for what I'm about to show you. Yeah, y'all remember this? Yeah, y'all remember this? So, I think the first part over here, we take a look at this. I don't think normal people are supposed to be able to do this, right? She's kind of just floating there menacingly. Came out of an incubator and, you know, kind of like met up with Cartithia at the start of the quest. And to me, this is really where that little bit that we just dove into, right? Where she has overlapping characteristics observed across multiple standard spectral signatures. That seems to be how this whole sort of, you know, floating action is going on over here. And the overclocking part, right? Where she shows us a lot of stability. Yeah, Mia, right? Mia, the kind of like the gladiator from Raguna who freaked the fuck out and started going crazy. Maybe Mia is that overlapping frequency that they're talking about over here. However, the other part that I wanted to get into was that whole idea that she's actually stable, right? That she's actually somebody that doesn't necessarily have any issues at all with overclocking. And that is, of course, this absolutely, I mean, I'm going to be real here. I feel like this freaked everybody out. This might be one of like the darkest CG stills that Kuro Games has ever shown to the player base, because this just, it looks so bad, bro. Like, the fact that Kuro was actually willing to show something this morbid to the player, like, bro, she looks dead, man. She looks dead, or she looks like a zombie, or like, it's just, this is wild, brother. This is wild, brother. And, you know, I can't really imagine a lot of other gacha games being willing to show something this relatively like gruesome for a playable character. We just really have that drive, right, for it not to actually happen in game. And, you know, I feel like the reveal of this midway through the 2.4 quest, where she's the Herald of the Dark Tide, right? She is going to be potentially the reason for why Septimont plunges and becomes invaded by fucking tacit discords and, you know, basically just gets destroyed. Yeah, I feel like this is something that really drove a lot of people to continue pushing forward in the quest. I feel like after everybody saw this, I don't think a lot of people put the quest back down. I feel like a lot of people just pushed forward, stayed up late, burned the midnight oil, and just kept playing until they got to the end. Because, let's be real here, how are you gonna stop playing the story after seeing something like this? Yeah, that's me. That was a lot of people, myself included. So, yeah, I feel like we still need a lot of answers to this question. We need to find out why she became sort of like this carrier for the Dark Tide, despite the fact that, well, ladies and gentlemen, her stability remains robust. No signs or history of overclocking. They've done a lot of research on her, and there's no reason at all for why stuff like this would happen. And so I think all clues really do point to Mia. Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, she's a little bit troubled. And there's clearly some sort of link between these two characters. And unfortunately, we'll just have to wait, right, until version 2.4 second half for us to see what the full picture actually is. And I am very excited for it. And hopefully the rest of you are excited as well. So yeah, let me know what you all think about Lupa and her story integration. I, for one, think that she's one of the most well-integrated characters we've ever had in the history of Wuthering Waves. I know there are some accusations of her just being like waifu baiting, but I feel like she's anything but that. I think she's one of the most well-written characters we've ever had in the history of the game. So yeah, let me know what you all think. Peace.